Disclaimer, this article was not written with the intention of making a case for who won this battle, nor is this the end-all be-all documentary of what has happened thus far. More interesting than calling a winner, in my opinion, is taking a closer look at the elements that have caused this moment to begin with, as well as the factors that make this situation unique. Without further ado, let's delve into the Royce the 5'9" versus Lupe Fiasco and Mickey Factz situation. The catalyst for such an exchange depends on who you go to for perspective. Royce's stance, from my understanding, is that the loosely dispersed declarations of dominance seen lately, e.g., "I'm the best, nobody can fuck with me," ought to be checked. If rappers claim they're the best, let's see it. Otherwise, the statement ceases to mean anything. Which takes us to late June when we find a number of different rappers having discussions about who's the best. Royce let off a stream of statements around the same time, which prompted onlookers to theorize and draw conclusions. Royce's words were mistaken by many as subliminal, passive-aggressive rants toward those claiming to be the best rappers doing it. It became apparent in subsequent events, talks, conversations, that Royce took these accusations as a misrepresentation of his character, which takes us to an IG live chat featuring Mickey Factz and Cassidy, among others. Mickey Factz suggested that Royce may have felt some type of way about Cassidy's words in an interview with Math Hoffa about the art of rap. Mickey would later go on to express to Royce that his intention was never to cause division. Although Mickey's goal was to facilitate compelling conversations about rap, this miscommunication appeared to remain a point of contention for Royce, and it appeared that from Royce's perspective, the situation went from friendly competition to Royce having to look at his friendships and question the sincerity in them. The class of rappers would continue to go back and forth about bars, dominance, and conversations that would go on to make headlines for the next few weeks. The highly energetic IG Lives featured Cassidy, Ransom, Crooked Eye, and many more. As the MCs egged each other on, the talk only got spicier, including subtle jabs between Lupe and Royce. It was only a matter of time before one of the rappers would stop talking and start rapping. It was a sunny Thursday afternoon, July the 15th, when battle rap legends Loaded Lux and Murder Mook injected another shot of energy into the situation when they joined an IG live discussion featuring Young Guru, Royce the 5'9", and Mickey Factz. The subject of Royce versus Lupe resurfaces. In typical battle rap fashion, Mook and Lux put the hype in the hypotheticals, stirring the pot, taking bets, and expressing their excitement around the potential matchup. And then enters Lupe Fiasco, a very charged up Lupe Fiasco. If there was ever a single moment to point to for the shift in energy revolving around the past month's discussions, this was the one. It was like a dragon coming out of his cage. Lupe came in breathing fire, warning that any further mentioning of a battle between him and Royce will not end well. No one had any idea at the time how true that was. In an appearance that lasted no more than 2 minutes, Lupe addressed Royce with an energy that prompted an equally sharp and forthright response. I need not repeat the words exchanged. In a micro battle for respect that resembled a wolf fighting a bear, the former podcast co-host went from light-hearted smack talk to overt aggression and cold demeanor in a matter of seconds. It was in this moment, among many others, that Lupe and Royce were forced to question the nature of these exchanges and evaluate the validity in their friendship in general. Lupe shouts, "Start practicing," before abruptly leaving the live. The exchange was immediately followed by a 9-minute freestyle from Lupe in which he detailed the entire situation from his perspective. Later that day, the two MCs went on to address the situation from their respective platforms, both of them visibly upset, both of them as serious as a heart attack. For many days, things were left up in the air for fans of Royce the 5'9" and Lupe Fiasco alike. Is this real? Have they talked yet? What's going to happen to the podcast? What would a battle between the two even look like? The answers would soon come in ways that no one would have expected. In the spirit of poetic justice, Royce addresses the genesis of this whole situation in 7 days' time. On Thursday, July 22nd, Royce drops Silence of the Lambda, a remarkable display of lyrical excellence that expresses Royce's disdain for how the situation was handled and the passive-aggressive energy that has plagued it all. In the midst of a monologue that appears to be more about expressing dominance than sending direct attacks, Royce questions the core of Lupe's character. Putting Lupe's loyalty to black people in question, Royce takes a psychoanalytical approach that would demean the most secure of lyricists. There's a lot to appreciate about watching a master at work, and Silence of the Lambda is no exception. However, the time allotted to sit down and dissect the intricacies in Royce's penmanship was nearly non-existent as Lupe struck back before most people finished brushing their teeth that morning. Lupe Fiasco presents Steve Jobs, a scathing diss record that leaves one questioning whether Lupe and Royce were ever really friends to begin with. It makes it abundantly clear that we will not be seeing the two on a podcast anytime soon. The Chicago native, notorious for triple entendre and storytelling, goes directly for the jugular, leaving nothing to the imagination on the most cunning diss record we've seen since Pusha T's Story of Added On. Lupe would later explain on an IG Live why accusations of not supporting black people was so personal to him, citing heated behind-the-scenes conversations that nearly ended the podcast. From pointing out hypocrisies in Royce's woke persona to attributing his successes to his cosigns, it's clear that Lupe is ready and willing to burn the entire house down in response to such attacks. A couple nights after the diss tracks were released, Mickey joined Royce's IG Live for a discussion so rife with condescension and so full of tension that you can cut it with a knife. As Royce stated in the past, it didn't sit right with him that his statements on prominence and rap were construed in such a way that he would be made to appear as passive-aggressive. In Royce's eyes, Mickey had a hand in compromising his word and reputation. Couple that with Mickey's allegiance to Lupe Fiasco, and the result is an hour-long masterclass in sarcasm during which Royce implies that Mickey Factz simply does not check the boxes necessary to be an elite MC. If that wasn't enough to light a fire in Mickey, he would find the necessary motivation in discussing the Sun Chips line from Royce's diss track, a bar in which Royce states he will put a hole in your son while he's holding your Sun Chips. Royce clarifies that he didn't write the line with Mickey Factz in mind, but implied that the line can be for him if the shoe fits. Those blinded by Mickey's uncanny ability to maintain his composure throughout the hour-long dialogue would be surprised by what would come next. 3 days after his conversation with Royce, Mickey Factz blesses the timeline with Wraith. With a runtime of 5 minutes and 59 seconds, released at 5:59 p.m., the diss record is fully loaded with everything a rap fan comes to love rap for. But if the medley of metaphors and complex cadences don't do it for you, Mickey takes the liberty of borrowing some familiar flows, channeling his inner RJ Payne and Ransom for the Fight. Respect was earned, not given, in what felt like a moment of redemption for Mickey Factz, as he checked every box in what makes a diss record effective, all while expressing his admiration for Royce the 5'9" in the same breath. Even after you remove the favoritism from the equation, there's so many elements to consider when you are evaluating a diss track. In the bout between Royce the 5'9" and Lupe Fiasco, it initially came down to a matter of preference. Are you impressed by the display of technical skill, or do you find direct delivery on personal points to be more impactful? Things were complicated further when Mickey Factz entered the equation with both depth and delivery. Having had a few days to let the dust settle on the most recent track, it's hard to say what's going to happen next. Will Royce respond? Will more voices enter the mix? Will cooler heads prevail? Seeing collaborators feud in hip-hop is nothing new, but seeing respect between seasoned veterans dissolve in a matter of seconds over something that was for the most part lighthearted and friendly is almost inconceivable. Perhaps things look different if this conversation occurred behind the scenes and not in front of thousands of viewers. Perhaps it isn't obvious to all parties that there is love and respect from the other side. Perhaps Royce believes that there's a point where the cost of winning is too great, and maybe that's why he hasn't responded yet. All parties involved respect themselves and obviously have some level of respect for each other. However, when certain boundaries are crossed, the rules of engagement can change instantly. It's at that moment where humility, openness, and trust are essential to salvaging relationships. It's also when humility, openness, and trust are most difficult to muster. It's our hope as fans of these legends that a space of shared meaning and mutual respect can be reestablished. While there is much excitement in seeing Titans clash, we prefer that the energy begins with, remains in, and ends with love. I am Geronimo with The Music Shop. I am a fan first, and I can't wait to see what happens next.